All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? We're back talking some baseball. Opening day. I mean, yeah, yesterday you can consider opening day, but this is when the real fun starts. I'm with the man, Gyiraszin himself, Nades himself, two of the better MLB minds. We also got Matt Bellman. We also got Ham, the man on the MLB team. Hoops in the Discord if you need a stacked MLB team. We will be going live every single day, Monday through Friday. Talking some baseball. Of course, we will have Slate plan, written content 7 days a week like we have for every sport. We got Coach, Nate, Sean, Jason Turner, Kevlar, Jordan, Ricky, Hebrew Cheetah, Ricky again. Yeah, he's already talking safety meetings and high noons. Those two things go with Gyiraszin.
One of them already happened.
Hey, I'll throw it to you right away on that note, Gyiraszin. It's good to be back talking some baseball, talking random stories, always laughing. How we doing today?
Man, it's great to be back. It's been since last October when we did our last baseball show, it seemed like. So, I don't get into that NBA. It's a nice break. It's just a nice relaxing the brain. I'm so excited to start. I was already been fooling with the baseball for a couple days. You just need that break. Playing every day just fucking beats you up, but having a lot of fun. I mean, I get to see my boys. We get to talk baseball. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but opening days here. Just, man, I'm excited. And talk about safety meetings and high noons. I got a little confession to make. So the safety meetings are definitely happening. That already happened this morning. That's no doubt. But the high noons now kind of take a back seat. I've been drinking them lucky ones, which are actually high noons, but the lucky ones are the non-carbonated lemonade ones. Let me tell you, this guy pounds the shit out of those things. At bowling, I think they tell me average is 8 a damn night. I drink them things. But they don't bloat me up. I don't get heartburn. Even though they're lemonade, I don't get the heartburn from them. They're not too lemon, citrusy, but they're good. But man, it's good to see you two's faces. I look white as shit compared to you out here in Arizona. Nades, what the hell are you tan, man? You got some red on your face. Were you outside golfing or something? What the hell? I look like a ghost.
Yeah, no, it's called lighting. It's called a good ring light, a good camera here. Does me justice because I'm whiter than a ghost as well. Wisconsin, I mean, we got dumped on 28 inches of snow when I thought it was the golf courses were about to open up. Yeah, we're back. Baseball's here. Fun slate ahead. We got 9 games on the main slate, loaded pitching for majority of the teams, and then some not loaded pitching that we're going to talk about. So I think it sets up for a pretty good slate. Personally, kind of broad slate overview, just jump right in. I want to kind of spread out at pitcher and be more condensed on offenses and really target those teams that or those offenses that are targeting the lesser caliber pitchers, right? Obviously, opening day, most teams throw out their aces, right? You got Scuball, you got Skeens, you got Crochet, you got Brown, Peralta, Sanchez, Ryan, Eovaldi, Pivetta, whatever you want to say about those guys. Matt Boyd pitching in that weather game in Wrigley in super cold temperatures. And you got Mizorowski starting against the White Sox at 7,500. So I think there's some really, really good options in general overall on the slate, and some offenses that I think are going overlooked because a lot of people want to condense around the Cubs in that game with their 5 implied run total against Cavalli and that terrible bullpen behind him over there in Washington. So I think overall, pretty fun slate. I'm super excited to be back. I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. Had a hell of a baseball season last year overall. Just the Discord, tons of winners all over the place. I had probably my best season year to date yet. So looking to build on that and looking to jump right in here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really pumped to be talking baseball with you two. Got to say hi to a couple more people in chat tuning in. I haven't had that lemonade high noon Gyiraszin. I don't really drink too much, but yeah, next week I'll be at a bachelor party, so maybe I'll be buying a couple
lucky
of those.
One. You remember that? We're all lucky. I mean, lucky. Shit, it's easy to remember.
Definitely blessed for sure. So lucky. So it's not a high noon at all, or is it a lucky?
It's made by the same company. I think it's got Portnoy's dog on the front of it or something. I don't know. I put it in the koozie. I don't pay attention.
I'll be on the lookout for that for sure. Kevlar's in here. Bourbon. I know Nades likes himself some bourbon down below. Our man Jake's in here, happening opening day. Good to see you. Philly Phantom, Bong Rips, and baseball. There we go. Yeah, where is our man Pop Stoner? Andrew Martinez. Kenny's in here. Coach Sav, Greg, Hart, 16 ohms. Great to see everyone here. Appreciate you hanging out. So we have a lot to offer for MLB. We're going to get into it pretty shortly. We're going to talk usually how the shows go. We talk pitchers. I'm going to share our partner SaberSim. It's easy to see the pitching layout there. Then usually we switch over to the Stone, which is a one-stop shop. I love everything we got going for MLB. So everything, the stack rankings or the hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, it is all found on the Stone. So we'll show that off first real quick. You can see when the lineup's confirmed, the projected lineup, the ownership, projections for DraftKings, for FanDuel, K percentage, xWOBA, what side of the plate they bat from, all this good stuff. The pitchers, again, you can see the pitcher ranking on the Stone as well, the hitter ranking on the Stone. And we revamped them last year. We're always trying to get better. We sat down, we're looking at some historical data and really got those hitter rankings. We got them narrowed down. Obviously, the more data we get as the years go, it only gets better. But a one-stop shop for the Stone, it gets updated throughout. You can see the run total for each team. So we will be sharing that when we talk some bats. Slate plan. This is the one piece of content I'm not going to pull up because obviously it's premium. We have cores on there. We have pitcher rankings, how whoever's on the Slate plan today, it's Gyiraszin, how he ranks his pitchers, the hitters, the stacks, a write-up right there. So that is premium content. You can also find my cash core on there as well for FanDuel and DraftKings. So that's a Slate plan. Stack rankings for DraftKings and FanDuel. We're not showing this off every day, but it's the first day. So you can filter by main or night. Obviously, you want the main slate, 5-man projection. So this is how we rank it. The Brewers number 1 right now. You can also see how much the stack salary costs and the stack ownership. So this is a great tool right here. You can see Orioles by far projecting for the least amount of ownership, but also up there, going back to MLB hitter rankings. Again, they are on the Stone, but this is a really good one. Again, if you want to just sort by the main slate like we're playing, you see the ranks. Now let's like, okay, what's the best catcher? You can sort by any position. Boom, right there. Very easy to do if you want to sort by certain teams, a certain price range. Very, very user-friendly, awesome stuff there. And then for the MLB pitcher rankings, again, DraftKings and FanDuel, same type of stuff. You can sort by the main slate, the night slate, pricing right here. You can see the ownership, all of this good stuff. Again, this is updated throughout. Awesome tools that we have over for MLB to help you get started. We also have a more education video, MLB, about 2 hours talking MLB, everything that goes into a cash games, tournaments. But Nades, I'm going to throw it to you first. Assuming no one has played, someone that's watching has not played one bit of DFS or MLB DFS. It's unlike NBA. You're an NHL guy. Now, if people haven't played MLB, they probably haven't played NHL, but it's a stacking sport. There's a certain roster construction you should be doing. Otherwise, you're really setting yourself behind. So explain, if you're just getting into MLB today, what people need to know to build good competitive lineups.
Yeah, great question. MLB, you're going to find really quickly that stacking is king. Obviously, cash games is a little different. Small field, super small field stuff, the nosebleed, high stake stuff. That stuff's obviously different, right? Because that's a nuance. That's different in its own right. But majority of tournaments, single entry stuff, you really want to be stacking. 5-man stacks is the way I like to go. Whether that means 5, 2 from a different team and a one-off, that's preferably my favorite because I like to have a high upside one-off, guys that can either steal bases or hit home runs, or it's a value play to kind of unlock the keys to the puzzle to make my other 2 stacks work, or a 5-3. Realistically, I'm always doing a 5-man stack. Occasionally, I'll venture down to like a 4-3-1, which means 4 from one team, 3 from another, and then a one-off, like I talked about, either a value piece or a stolen base, home run guy, upside guy. Sometimes that value in the home run and stolen base, upside guy all work together. And then obviously that's a pivotal elite kind of one-off in my mind. So really that's what you're looking for. I really don't mess around with trying to pick off 3-man stack here, 2-man stack there, a one-off from this team, a one-off from that team. It's just, I look at it as a parlay, right? The less you have to get right when you are right is the way I like to look at it, right? and especially with bullpens, right? So much of GPP winning scores. I know Gyiraszin and I talked about this a ton last year, and how we always talk about bullpens is because realistically, I mean, a lot of these starting pitchers are really good, right? But most of the starting pitchers typically go anywhere from 4 to 6 innings, right? You're not seeing a ton of guys go 6, 7, 8 innings anymore in today's landscape of the MLB. So yeah, for the first 4 to 6 innings, the baseball games are usually pretty low scoring, especially on the front end of these teams' rotations. And a lot of the runs and a lot of the winning lineups come from massive outburst against the bullpen, right? Especially if they have one big inning, put up 4 or 5 runs. Well, now you're going to see the lesser arms even come out of those bullpens when the bullpen's already pretty bad. So that's the way I like to attack it. I'm always team camp 5-2-1 mainly. That's my preferred stack to go. 5-3 I think is fine, and then 4-4 or 4-3 is really the only 4 stacks that I run, even in MME stuff. I uncheck all the other stacks, so that is a little bit different than previous in other sports where I know a lot of us and sheets and things like that on this channel really don't like to touch a lot. That is one of the things that I do to my optimizer ahead of time before even building, and then I kind of narrow it down from there in terms of what I want actually in my pool and things like that.
Absolutely. And the reason for that is just thinking about it logically. Not in every sport, like if in football, if a guy catches a touchdown, one person's throwing it, one person's catching it, no one else is doing anything. In baseball, if your leadoff hitter gets a walk, your second hitter walks, your third hitter, let's just say singles, no one scores, bases are juiced. So you have 1, 2, 3 you just got points for, and your fourth hitter hits a bomb. You're getting a run for your leadoff hitter, your second hitter, your third hitter. You're getting 4 RBIs because you're getting a run for the fourth hitter. So you have one outcome. You just got points for 4 different individuals all on the same team. So when you do stack, usually you don't need to keep them right next to each other, but that's the general idea is you can get points from multiple players with one outcome. And baseball, if we're sorting by SaberSim right now, team stacks, you can sort by projected runs. So today, no team is expected to score over 5 runs. That's a 9-game slate. You will start seeing it as the weather gets warmer, but we're hoping for 99% outcomes, 90th% outcomes. So if a team does score 11 and no other team scores 5, it's more likely that 5 players on that one team, or it's easier to get it right, that they do well. You never need like the pure optimal in baseball. Sure, if you get 1-1-1-1, you get a home run from each guy on every single different team, it works that way. But like Nate said earlier, you're parlaying so much more, which is the reason why stacking. Hoop has made a lot of cheese doing it. 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, the bottom of the order, the wraparound. We'll go through and talk about all that, but that's the reason we talk about stacking. And like Nate said, our partner SaberSim, it makes it very easy. He unchecks all these, and I totally agree with him. I would uncheck 4. I would uncheck 4-2. If you want to guarantee 5-2 is Nate's favorite, at least 50% of lineups, if you put that in, will be 5-2. If you want at least 20% 5-3, whatever it may be. Or you can just uncheck anything you don't want to play and then go like this. I'm fine with 5-1-1-1. Again, it's kind of your preference that way. But contest flashback. So I'm going to just show real quick before we go and talk pitchers. Let me just share this tab real quick. So our MLB package this year, it cannot be any better price. Again, you're getting all of this content, stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, our Discord, the Stone, Slate plans, projections, ownership, everything you need to be successful in MLB. Join the nation, bottom left, and we're really, really happy with our offering. So we do have what I believe right now is the best deal, 5 days for $19. The reason I'm a little biased, NBA is still going on. PGA is going on. Of course, MLB, MMA this week, NASCAR, and NHL. So this 5 days will take you through these 5-6 sports right here. College basketball in the Discord, you can be asking questions, having fun with. A lot of sports, a lot of different prizes. Again, only $19. You get SaberSim, you get the Discord. I think this is definitely the best deal to check out. But if you do know you'll be with us the whole year for MLB, single sport package, MLB. We didn't have this offering last year, which we thought was a disservice. Less than $1 a day you can get for the monthly content. If you know you'll be with us for the year, I mean, look at that, $17 a month for all of the content. If you do want to add SaberSim, hardly anything more, $20 more for the month, only $25 monthly content and SaberSim for the annual package. And SaberSim doesn't even offer monthly packages with MLB content by itself. You have to get all the other sports. So yeah, if you're going to be around for MLB, it's a long haul. There's a lot of days, a lot of months, but I don't think you can find any deal in the industry better. We're really happy with our rankings, our projections. And again, SaberSim makes it very easy to build MLB lineups like we did just show. So I say we get right into it. Let me actually say hi to a couple more people. Greg's in here. WB is in here. Lone Wolf, Coach Sav, Correlation, Aaron Smith. Yeah, correlation is definitely important. SaberSim has back tested the slider though. Let's go Indians. What's up all day? You know, Gyiraszin himself likes himself some Indians. I think I said hi to everybody there though. So Gyiraszin, I'm going to throw it to you first. If you want to say anything else, I know you primarily play on FanDuel, or it's a one pitcher site. You get quality start stuff. So if you want to discuss anything there, you can. Otherwise, I need you to talk about 8.1K Trevor Rogers up to 10.5K Tariq Skubal and start breaking down the upper tier in pitching.
No, I mean, you guys did a pretty good job about talking about stacking and all that kind of stuff. I think the only thing that I kind of would add to it is like when you're doing the optimizer, and let's say you do the 5-3 and it tells you, the three guys, and then you do the 5-2 with the one-off. I like to see the one-off it's telling me, or maybe, to see, or if you decide to go down one, I like to see the guys it's throwing in there just so I know, when I'm building lineups. So I do like kind of mix it up like that. But yeah, FanDuel actually is a little bit different game, obviously, than DraftKings, because the one pitcher, which I prefer. FanDuel is more of a home run driven scoring than more so than DK. So, I basically, when I start the season, I pretty much make decisions in my mind who I think are weak teams that can't hit home runs. We all know how I felt about the Royals last year. I refused to play the Royals. They just weren't hitting home runs. How many damn weeks were they chalk? Everybody talked about them because they're value bats playing a shitty pitcher, and they just don't hit more than 1 or 2 homers a game. You're not going to get there in a big tournament because somebody's going to go off or have the pitcher. So, but more so,
That's
I think
going to change this year, Gyiraszin. With that fence coming in, I think you're going to have a different.
The Royals
approach.
may be a little different this year, but we know that was last year. And yes, whoever mentioned the Indians will always be the Indians. But and also, when you're looking to, like Nades mentioned too, about the pitcher's not going as long. I think we got a great example of that today. So, there's a lot of unknowns today. So, but when you kind of look at it, step back and you look at it, you're like, well, if everybody is on an equal field of maybe 80 to 90 pitches today, tops, I don't really expect anybody to get to 100. There's no need for that today. So I think Tariq Skubal obviously has one of the highest strikeout upsides. He's Tariq Skubal, but now I don't like the matchup there against the Padres. Padres just didn't strike out very much, but still, like guys like that, when you're looking at the slate today. So like today, totally, when I got 50 teams over there on the FanDuel $5 one, and pretty much I basically was hand building most of them. Knew the stacks I wanted, was having fun. Dude, I was up early today having fun. It's baseball, bro. So, I
mean, man, yeah, my eyes, I got 40 or something over there too. Good prize on both sides. 100K at to first, like Gyiraszin saying, $5.55. But I mean, you got better things.
Putting all lineups, I was doing my bats first.
Hey, Gyiraszin, you have something called SaberSim for free with your Chip It Nation being an admin over here. All you have to do is go here.
SaberSim's right here, man. It's right
do a couple
here. I know what I want to do. I'm pretty heavy on a certain stacks and pitchers, so I'm just mixing them all up. If they hit, I'm going to win.
So for anyone out there, I assume most of you probably have a little more to do in life than I guess Gyiraszin does in the morning when he has that safety meeting. His 2 hours to build that, you guys can build that in 3 minutes with SaberSim. But keep going.
Probably quicker, but it's more fun to open. Are you the guy that tears his Christmas gifts open in 3 seconds, or do you actually take your time, look at it,
I tear
over, that's what you do.
I shake it and then I probably guess and then I tear it, but half the time it's socks.
Shit. That's what happened. And then you get the warm, comfy pants. That's what we get up here at Dad's. But anyway, let's bust into this slate, man. I'm pretty excited here. I think there's a lot of pitchers here you could obviously use, but we'll start at Rogers. I mean, I'm not really a fan of Rogers here in this spot. There's too many other options today. Like Pivetta, I'm not interested in Pivetta either. I'm not interested in Evaldi. I'm not interested in that. Joe Ryan, I think we can pick on today. So I'm not interested in that. I mean, you're looking at Sanchez. I mean, guy had a great year out of nowhere. I mean, last year was a guy that we could use, was always underpriced, it seemed. But I don't mind Sanchez in a spot like this today. I just think he's a little bit farther down. But now as we get up here in the top a little bit, these are guys we can talk about. We got Fastball Freddie. I don't mind Fastball Freddie at all here today against Pittsburgh. I don't think that that's a bad matchup at all. You know, you sit here and you look at some of the strikeout percentages that we have. Let's see here for them. I was just pulling that up. You know, Cruz 31%. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the lineup, and we can count Trillo, which 22% for me is basically, I think, the average line for far as strikeouts go. So if you're over or under that, when I say, you know, guys are over the average, that's what I'm talking about. But I think Fastball Freddie is in a decent spot here. Kind of weird seeing him in a Mets uniform, you two Brewer boys.
I'll say you're talking to the two Brewers guys himself. Definitely weird, but Brewers have always they got it right with Corbin Burns. They tend not to pay for the big ones. They have a great farm system, but yeah, I'm excited what the Brewers got until it gets to the postseason. Then they'll do what they always do. But keep it going. Yeah,
and then I think Hunter Brown here against the Angels. I mean, Brown, strong strikeout arm. 28.3%. Doesn't walk too many guys. I think the Angels has always been a team. You look in the past that we've picked on for strikeouts. So. I mean, that lineup's full of strikeouts. I think there's only two guys under the 22% in that Angels lineup. So I do think Brown is interesting, and I don't think he's getting really the love as far as I like the matchup. I think he's a guy that is kind of he's not really being talked as highly as I feel he should be. Crochet, I think, is a top play today against a Cincinnati club. I don't like the park, but I think Crochet definitely has an opportunity here. You got 5 guys, almost 6 guys here over the strikeout percentage for 22% against lefties. You got a couple guys almost in the 30 percentile, like top of that lineup even. Obviously I'd prefer the Reds against a righty, but Crochet I think is really good. I think he's in a great spot here against the Reds. I wouldn't discount him. Skubal, as I meant, Skeens, I'm just going to leave alone. I think Skeens is, he's obviously one of the best pitchers on the planet. I just don't like his matchup here against the Mets. I'm not going to pay $10K for him. Now, Skubal, on the other hand, I think there are some value guys. I think if I was going to pay up, I think I would go with Skubal just because he's Skubal. He did have 80-some pitches in his last start for the Tigers. That should have been for the WBC team, but, that's another day, another argument. But either way, yeah, he should have started for him. But anyway, I don't like the matchup there. I do like the park in San Diego. I don't like bats in any time in San Diego generally. We'll talk about that as the season goes, like Pittsburgh, San Diego. They're just places I don't generally like to play bats. But I think Skubal, he's Tarek Skubal. He's the best pitcher on the planet. So I think he's always in play. I think you're going to get him a little lower owned than you probably should on a slate with a bunch of good pitchers. But I think, though, there are some value guys that we'll talk about when they get under 8K. But if I'm to rank them up here I think I got Skubal 1. He'd be my top pitcher on the slate. I think he's going to be lower owned. If you can jam him in, with like Miz or Boyd or Rasmussen, I think that's something, you can obviously do. Crochet, I got a little ahead of Brown. Then I got Peralta, and then I got Sanchez, and then I'll put Skeens down there toward the bottom. I'm not really interested in Skeens today, but I think you can mix up any of the guys. Skubal, Crochet, Brown, Peralta, Sanchez. You can mix them up. We got a couple value guys we can do. I don't think it's going to be tough to put 2 of these top guys and build a lineup today, unless you really want to get sassy with some Rays, but I'm not really interested in that. So I do think that there's too many, like we'll talk about on slates, like, I think there's too many landmines in the pitching world today that can beat you. So I think, you can't undervalue pitching today. I think if you want to go 2 low end guys, I think you're really risking it, because I think one of these top 5 guys could put up a pretty decent score today, even though I only think they may get 80, 90 some pitches pretty much across the board. I don't see anybody getting to 100, but I wouldn't discount any of these top guys here in the top 5 here that I mentioned. I think you should probably have one of them in your lineup. But having 2, I think, is going to be tough. But I think, you're going to see a lot of, like, Skubal Mizes. You're going to see a lot of Skubal Boyds. You might see a lot of Crochet Boyd's, a lot of Crochet, Miz lineups. I think that's going to be a pretty standard, a pretty chalky pairing. But I mean, it's opening day. There's a lot of unknowns. I'm not going to. I mean, I'm just playing the $5 one here. I'm not getting in my $100 one. That the single entry I normally like to play. I like to play the Grand Slam over there. Usually 2-3 teams. But, today is just a lot of unknowns. We don't I mean, we can generally kind of get an idea who's going to pinch hit and stuff like that today. But, I don't know. Somebody probably asked me if I'm worried about Miz and his, 4-inning average. I'm not really concerned about that. We'll get
there. You're getting ahead of yourself.
I got you. But, I mean, that'll come up. My brain's spinning. But either way. It's a safety meeting. It's a safety meeting, brain spinning. But, hey, I think really at the top, as my point is, you need to probably have one of these top guys up here. And I think if you mix up your lineups, you're playing a bunch of lineups, I'd have, the Sanchez's, the Peraltas, Browns, Crochets, Scoobles. So that's why I'm not really interested in the Rogers, Pavettas, Evaldi's, Ryans. I just think those guys up there, I think those prices are a little too much. But I think you can make it work with those top 5 guys.
Yeah, and again, you can see. So I'm taking our average with Shipping Nation and SaberSim. You do get that on the starter plan for projection and ownership. You can see like Evaldi, Joe Ryan, they're not getting ownership. Crochet, you can sort by ownership, is the highest on the slate. Him and Scooball are very similar, but you do get an $800 discount. Another nice thing about SaberSim, kind of like Gyiraszin saying with the pitch count, SaberSim does project the average amount of pitches that each pitcher will throw, which you can see on the right here. So Nades, I'll throw it to you. Trevor Rogers up to Scooball. How are you seeing this range?
Yeah, I'll start with the two chalkiest guys, Scooball and Crochet. I just don't like Scooball's matchup. Padres were sub 20% K rate last season, all year long. They got a good lineup. I get it. It's a good park to pitch in. Hitters aren't great. I just don't like picking, especially with Scooball at 10-5 all the way up there. I know salary is pretty loose, especially with teams like the Brewers, right? Implied right around 5 runs, and they're pretty cheap in general, especially those lefties who you want, which we'll talk about when we get to the stack. So for me, Scooball is fine. I'm definitely going to have some in MME, but he's probably not going to make either of my 2 main teams just because I just don't love the matchup. Same thing with Skeens. I don't love picking on the Mets, even though that's a pretty good ballpark there to pick on. I don't know. Skeens, I just don't think has a huge leash. I think the Mets have some guys to get into him. I will say of Scooball, Skeens, and Crochet, Skeens would be probably my favorite out of the 3 just because he's going to be the lowest owned. Early in the year, I embrace a lot more variance. It's March baseball, right? So these guys, it's the first start they're making. Most of these guys don't really care about spring training. World Baseball Classic was the best for the guys who do partake in spring training because obviously they were trying to win those games, competing against the best in the world. So guys who did compete in that, especially for hitters wise, I give a slight edge to. But overall, first start of the season, I'm going to be I'm typically one who fades the chalk more often than not, but especially early in the year. I just think there's so high variance in baseball, especially early on when weather's pretty crappy across the country. It's obviously not the case in some places today, right? We're talking like 80-some degrees in some places, and then we're talking about 50 degrees in Chicago, right? So there is some disparity in weather. Crochet, I think, has a ton of upside. That's one of the best hitting environments on the slate in Cincinnati. I get it. The Reds suck, but they do have stolen base upside throughout there. They still do have power in there. The wind's blowing out there, 86 degrees in Cincinnati. Like, I just think, why am I going to pay $9,700 when the dry run spits out 80% of this guy? So he is going to be the chalkiest guy on the slate. Him, Scooball, in terms of the dry run, right, just running projections wise, it's Crochet, it's Scooball, and then it's Mizorowski and Hunter Brown. Those 4 are the 4. So I think it's going to be one of those 3, Brown, Scooball, Crochet. Mizorowski is going to be the chalk pairing. So I think actually going to spend down options today is pretty interesting with like a Miz and a Boyd, something like that. I do think is interesting. So for me up at the top, I think Hunter Brown is really interesting. I like the matchup. I like his strikeout ability. It's the Angels. They struck out the most against right-handed pitching last year. He's at home. Should go anywhere from 85 to 90 pitches. Then I think Freddie Peralta is a really good option. Dry run didn't hit any of Freddie Peralta. He's going to be low owned. So I'd rather play Freddie than Skeens at similar ownership, to be honest. Save that extra $800. Freddie, does have a better matchup, in my opinion, going up against the Pirates than the Mets there. So I think Freddie's interesting. Sanchez was a dog last year. I think he's interesting as well, but the weather there is also really good hitting. And I think the Texas bats and value guys there for mini stacks are pretty interesting. So for me, it's really Freddie, Brown are kind of my two favorite guys up at the top. I'm not going to mess with, I know we're getting a bunch of questions about Pivetta. Projections wise, he's going to be right around 15% on or so, which isn't anything crazy. But I think if I'm going to go there, I would just rather go down in salary to a guy like Miz or Boyd at ownership, or get up to that like that mid 9K range, or even one of the top guys that then mess with this lower 8K range or mid 8K range. Not going to get on Joe Ryan. I actually want to attack against him. I'm there with Gyiraszin on the O's. I like the O's quite a bit. Eovaldi, I think, is fine, but again, I'd rather play the Phillies. I just think Eovaldi in his 14th season is going to be due for some regression. It was his lowest home run rate last year out of any of his career, so I think he's going to regress there. Some of the best hitting environment, if not the best on the slate. I just don't think I need to mess with pitchers in really good hitting environments when we got a cheap guy in Matthew Boyd who, is going to get some ownership, but I mean, it's 50 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing in Wrigley there. So for me, up at the top, it's Hunter Brown and Peralta are my favorite. Sanchez there, and then I'd probably go to Crochet just because of the upside. I'm leaving the top two guys alone for the most part outside of MME 20 max stuff.
I like it. Great breakdown. The only thing I'm going to add, again, Gyiraszin and Nades are the experts, so three opinions. The more you listen to an MLB, it can actually be to your detriment in pretty much everything. But I would say I agree with what Gyiraszin said, and I think Nade's on the same page of I would anchor majority of my teams from a Sanchez or above, at least one of them. There is enough hitting value on this slate. I do think they separate enough. Now, if you do go a Miz, Boyd, sure, I think it's fine. Maybe Pivetta, and then you pick one of them. But there's enough cheap bats, and I do think one of these guys up top does separate enough where I think majority of my lineups will definitely be at least one top guy, and there is enough value on the slate. You can double spend pitcher pretty easily. There is value, though, Gyiraszin, and the value that is being played. You mentioned Mizrowski. You mentioned the pitch concerns at 84, but his stuff's electric, a great matchup. K-prop solid. It's going to be Miz. It's going to be Matthew Boyd, who wins blowing in. You can see the Nats have the lowest run total on the slate. So I think those two are going to be the chalk down below. And after that, we're showing like no ownership for anyone else. Someone mentioned Drew Rasmussen in chat, so if you want to touch on him, but I think a lot of these probably are pretty much X's. Boyd and Miz will definitely be popular, though, as the ownership's showing. So Miz 7.5K all the way down to, I mean, I guess Luke Weaver, who we're definitely not playing. But yeah, take away the bottom range.
Yeah, Miz is definitely interesting. But I mean, if we're going to play a guy like Miz, I mean, I wouldn't really want to play Miz if this was in June, like, and all these pitchers were stretched out. Like, I'd be a little bit more concerned probably about his pitch count. But on a day like today, where I just feel like there's going to be shorter leashes on a lot of these pitchers today. So Miz with that strikeout, capability. I mean, this dude's just throwing flames. I mean, you two know. I mean, that dude is a beast. So, I definitely wouldn't discount him. And they got him priced to where they're asking you to play him. Like, like if he was 8,500, we probably wouldn't. He wouldn't look as sexy as he does down there at 75. But I think he's interesting. Nades mentioned Boyd in that weather. The wind blowing in over there at Wrigley. I mean, we know Boyd he's a fly ball pitcher, old veterans, just that's what he does. He's going to just grind it out. And I don't mind that. He could end up having, a decent day as far as strikeouts go, but that's really not his thing, right? Like, he's just going to probably eat up some innings. I mean, at his price, I don't mind it. I mean, if Boyd gets his, 20 points, I mean, we're obviously dancing, but I think, is what we're looking at with Boyd. I think you can probably get 5 innings out of him. I mean, I think, you're looking at a decent opportunity for a quality start is what we're looking at. Abbott, I got no interest in Abbott. I think Abbott's going to get beat up a little bit today about them righties over there in Boston. Rasmussen, I think, is the guy that I like more on FanDuel than I do over on DK just because of the strikeouts. But I think Rasmussen, I mean, St. Louis to me just is not a very good team. You look at that lineup, I'm not scared of that lineup at all. I mean, you look up and down. I mean, the game total is 7.5. So you got a pitcher here sitting at 6,700 who is the favorite here. I mean, what are we looking at? Burleson's the only guy I'd really worry about over there. He's got a 361 WOBA against the right side. But, I mean, K percentage, Rasmussen last year, 24% against the left side, almost 19% to the right side. But, I mean, they're going to end up rolling out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lefties over there. So I think Rasmussen's in a pretty good spot. I don't mind him at all. Smith, hell no, I'm not playing him against the Brewers. Cavelli, nope, not doing that either. Soriano, man, that guy, he's a ground ball. I mean, he's not getting any strikeouts. He's going to get 60, 70% ground balls is pretty much what's going to happen. But, man, that bullpen behind him is terrible too over there with the Angels. But Libator, not interested in that. So, I mean, really these guys here down below, I mean, Miz stands out, Boyd stands out, Rasmussen stands out. If I'm ranking them on the sites, the two sites, I'd put Miz over Boyd on DK, then Boyd, then Rasmussen. But if I'm on FanDuel, I think I have Miz and Rasmussen pretty close. But I think I prefer Boyd over there on FanDuel just because he's cheap. But I mean, FanDuel's easier to get bats in. I mean, we're talking, 3,300 for, some pretty decent bats over there. I mean, Gunnar Henderson's only 3,600 over there. So it's like, it's pretty easy to build bats. But I mean, on a one pitcher site over there, I mean, yeah, I think those three are in play. But I do kind of prefer the Hunter Browns actually on FanDuel. I prefer, guys like that up there. Like we mentioned, some of these guys up top. Crochet, I'd mention. If I can jam a Scooble in, I think Scooble's going to be pretty low owned, lower owned than he should be on a slate with, like I said, this is June, Scooble's the highest owned pitcher, probably without even question, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, there's maybe 6 pitchers, 7 pitchers I feel comfortable playing on the whole slate. I'd say probably 7, to be fair, 3 of the value guys, which makes it for a decent slate. But, like I always say, I always like to look at pitching when I start out, you guys, like how many landmines, how many dudes can just blow me up that I got to have them? Because, I mean, DFS baseball 4 or 5 years ago, if DeGrom was pitching or Spencer Strider, and they were going to go out and throw 12 Ks, like you had to have them. I mean, because somebody was going to build a lineup that was going to get there. So, last year it didn't seem as much. We talked about it quite a bit. There wasn't that guy, except for Scooble, that was throwing up them kind of numbers consistently, I should say, where you were afraid that, 60% of the time they were going to be the nut pitcher you had to have. So it doesn't seem like it's been that way. So, but when you get a bunch of good pitchers like this, I get more afraid to fade the top guys than on a normal day if there's only 1 or 2. And I feel like, I only got to fade a couple. They don't have good matchups. That's fine. So I'll pay down for pitching. But I think today, starting out, I mean, obviously got a lot of SP1s today. So, but, it isn't the same just because we said the unknowns of the opening day. But, yeah, I think today there's a lot of good arms out there today. And, too many to fade on the high end for me.
Yeah, I'd focus on, like I said, majority of my lineups would be anchored around a top guy. We're showing off our pitcher rankings right now on DraftKings. Nades, the chalk. Miz and Boyd are really the only ones grading out somewhat well, and then it's just, Rasmussen at 14, but it's just kind of garbage after that. And I think there's 9 games on the slate. There's 18 teams to stack. Ownership will be really spread out at hitting. I don't think you need to get too crazy at pitcher. And you mentioned just like the Hunter Browns or the Skeens, like you can get different in the upper tier and pivot that way. So do you see anything different in the lower tier of pitcher besides Miz and Boyd that you're going to get to?
Yeah, really, Miz and Boyd, they're 2 of my favorite pitchers on the slate, salary adjusted, and with the offenses being kind of cheaper, right, it allows people to spend up to the Crochets, the Screwballs, the name recognition guys of the top tier, the Skeens of the world, right, even those guys, Hunter Browns, obviously. So I just think their ownership is going to get held in check. I think it's going to be actually contrarian pairing those two together because I think most lineups you're going to see is one of those top guys with one of these guys. So how do you flip that build? Well, you pay both of these spend down guys, and then you flip the build with the bats, right? And you get some of those high priced bats like the Schwarbers, the Harpers of the world, things like that. So I think that's an interesting route to go. The only other guy I'll throw in is Rasmussen. I think Rasmussen's fine just because I don't think Cardinals are very good. Get it. It's good weather there. I just think the Cardinals are pretty weak in general. I don't think they're going to be a good team this year. And the other two guys just in deep MME stuff would be Liberatore and Cavalli. The reason being is because the Rays are going to be super chalk and so are the Cubs. So you get some leverage there. Cavalli is getting the same pitching environment that everybody wants to run to in Chicago. On the other side, Chicago's going to be without Suzuki. I know they added some guys, but they lost Kyle Tucker. Bregman's another righty in there. So I think he'd be fine. He actually looked pretty solid overall in spring training as well, which you can take that for what it's worth, surface value, but it's 6,300, leverages the offense on the slate in the best pitching environment on the slate. I mean, the temperatures are in the 50s, low 50s into the 40s throughout that game with wind blown in the most wind-dated stadium in all of baseball. So I think that's fine. And Liberatore's a ground ball guy over there against the Tampa Bay team where a lot of people are going to play Tampa Bay bats for a good reason. But again, those two guys in MME stuff, I think is one way to get different there. And maybe you use like a Crochet or a Skubal with one of those guys instead of a Boyd or Mizorowski, where most people are going to use. But ideally, my pitching pool, I want to live with Miz and Boyd. And then like the Peraltas, Browns of the world and some of those other guys up top is realistically where I want to go. But I think those three guys, Rasmussen, Liberatore, Cavalli, as low-owned options are all fairly interesting in these large field tournaments. I mean, the tournaments today are massive for opening day. You got to do something a little bit different in terms of roster construction sometimes to get all the way to the top.
Definitely. You got bigger balls than me. I'm definitely going to be Xing everyone under 7.3K Boyd. But yeah, I mean, if they put up 16, 17, it could be enough on this slate. I'm going to keep it a little more condensed. Miz and Boyd are the only ones I'm going below 8K. And I'll focus on the other parts of bats. Do you want to touch on this quick, Nades? Not worried about weather concerns for the Cubs. Like, it doesn't look like rain. Winds are blowing like you've mentioned, but just touch on that quick and we'll talk bats.
Yeah, I don't really see any sort of postpone issues there. I know with Roth no longer where he's at, right? People struggle with his weather report not being there, but I just see cold and wind blowing in. I mean, they played in like snow last year, so I don't really think there's much of an issue here. Obviously, this is not like a conference game or anything like that, or a division game, excuse me. So like, I mean, it's opening day. They want to play baseball, right? They sold a ton of tickets. God bless the people there in those stands. Getting 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing straight in their face with 50 degrees. It's not for me. I'll be sitting inside watching it from my warm seat, but I'm not worried about any sort of weather issues at least at this point. So I'm not worried about it.
Still talking some hockey in the brain, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. Playoffs are coming. Going to be good stuff right there. All right, we're going to talk some bats. And again, we are showing off the stone right here. A lot of people have trickled in late. So this is, I mean, the best tool in baseball or in all of DFS. You can see everything you need. When the lineups are confirmed, it says confirmed. If they're not, it says projected. The start time in Eastern, the run total, the money line, DraftKings projection, DraftKings ownership, FanDuel projection, FanDuel ownership, the hitter rankings, the pitcher rankings, all right next to it. Again, you can sort MLB hitter rankings on DraftKings. You can sort by there. You can say just the main slate. I just want to see shortstop. And again, then you sorts right there. Hitter rate. All right. Correa, Seager stand out, and then no one else. So it's very user-friendly that way. If they have dual position eligibility, pitcher rankings we just showed, stack rankings right here. Again, you can see main slate, night slate, sort by main, 5-man projection. Cubs up top, but they are kind of chalky. This is the stack salary for the top 5 right there. So many different tools when it was updated last. But the stone does include the pitcher rankings and the hitter rankings, all one-stop shop, the K percentage, what side they bat from, the sample size. And again, it does get updated as lineups come in. So a phenomenal tool, makes it very easy. We're going to go game by game and talk about it. But at first, I just want to show, if you do want to get to the nation, a lot of people trickled in real quick. Join the nation, bottom left. You can get in as low as, if you just want MLB all year, single sport MLB, you can get in as low, less than $1 a day, $29 a month. Otherwise, it can be $17 a month if you'll be with us for the whole season. Again, baseball is a long grind. You can absolutely not beat that deal. If you want to add SaberSim, like we just showed, makes it very easy to build teams, to filter out stuff, just $20 more for the month. And again, SaberSim themselves does not offer just MLB only for the month. You'd have to get it for all sports. So if you know you're just playing MLB in the summer, you cannot beat this deal. If you want to try all the sports, NBA still going, PGA, MLB, MMA this week, NASCAR, NHL, a lot of big prizes. I think this would be the best deal, though. 5 days for $19. You can get Golf Showdown, MMA, all the sports above. You get SaberSim. You get access to the Discord. Huge, huge weekend. I'm real pumped. March Madness is going on. Only $19, SaberSim Discord. Everything you need right there. All right, we're going to talk some bets. Nades, I'm going to start with you for the first game. The Mets and the Pirates. We have Freddie Peralta and Paul Skeens on the mound. Minus 118 favorites are the Mets. Only a 7 total. 2 good pitchers. Not 2 offenses that I'm looking to really play too much. Obviously, the Mets, there's going to be a time to play these guys, but Juan Soto's up there. Lindor's up there. Yeah, hitter rankings don't love it much. Personally, I'd rather play both pitchers. So nothing for me, really. What about you?
Yeah, no cross-off spot. This is just not a spot that I want to attack 2 aces at this point of the year. It's different mid-season. If we see some holes in these guys, I mean, obviously anything can happen. It's baseball. These guys are all major league hitters. Lindor, Bichette getting added to that Mets lineup, Polanco. I mean, they got a good lineup. Semien is the corpse he is, but he still typically puts the ball in play. It's just not a spot I really want to pick on. Not great weather, 7 total in this one. Not a great hitter's park in general. So cross-off spot for me, not really messing with this one.
Gyiraszin? Any different take?
I mean, if you're looking for maybe a couple one-offs, you maybe could look at the Pittsburgh side, just because we know Freddie's going to be throwing them fastballs. And Brandon Lau, Woba last year, 429 against a fastball. Ryan O'Hearn, 415. And we look over at Peralta, 31% fly ball percentage to lefty. So, I mean, maybe we get lucky, home run there, but I mean, just kind of looking at something like that. But other than that, there's not really anything really of interest for me. I mean, if you're playing in a big tournament, the only reason I'm mentioning guys like that is, because of the $5 big lot of entries in there. But I think maybe something like that could work out. Maybe you get lucky, get a double donger somewhere. But I mean, that'd be about the only thing I even see that would remotely catch my eye.
Yeah, easy cross off, 9 games on the slate. This is not a game to get cute with, in my opinion. Next game on the slate, Shane Smith, Jacob Mizorowski. We're looking at a 7.5 total. Brewers minus 184 favorites. I'll go right back to you, Gyiraszin. I mean, tough to get to the White Sox personally, but do you have any interest in the Brew Crew, who's looking decent in the hitter rankings in the top half of the order?
Yeah, Brew Crew today is my favorite stack.
Ooh,
of the day. So, I did it just because I knew you two'd be on here with me. So, I'm just making just like stroking you two on the first day over here. Welcome back. But either way, man, I think the Brewers are in a good spot. I mean, we're going to talk about these shitty teams all season, like that bullpens we want to attack. I think the White Sox are going to be one of them. The Nats, the Angels, teams like that are a team we're going to be going after. So, Shane Smith wasn't really anything last year, had a high walk percentage, just barely over the MLB average for strikeouts on both sides of the plate. But to me, he does have a little bit more of a ground ball lean to the right side. So I do like the lefties over here. Terang is my favorite second baseman. Isn't really much there at second base today anyway. But Yelich, I think, is in a great spot. Frelick's a value play you could look at. If you wanted to go Mitchell wrapping around, I did see Churrio's not in the lineup today. So, I thought that was a little surprising. But yeah, Brewers for me are definitely one of my favorite stacks. Got decent weather. I mean, run totals there. I think for me, I think the Brewers are my favorite. I did originally when I was looking at it until I got into the weather. I did have the Cubs up there, but I actually moved the Brewers ahead because of the wind and all of that blowing out there in Wrigley. I do still like the Cubbies a little bit, but I moved the Brewers ahead. I think Contreras there too in that 2-hole is very interesting. But you always know, I'll talk about it. Guys that get moved around in the lineup and they get put in that 2 spot, the manager knows something, like he likes how he's swinging the bat behind the scenes or whatever the deal is, or he's hot or seeing the ball well. So for me, the 2-hole is one I like to look at. A lot of teams may leave the same guys in there, but the teams that like to rotate that, I definitely like to pay attention. I think Contreras is going to be a guy who's going to be moved around a little bit in that lineup. So I think him sitting there in that 2 spot's interesting. Had a pretty heavy catcher first base option today. There's a lot of options, so I think he'll be pretty low owned sitting in that 2-hole. But Brewers for me, definitely the top stack today.
Yeah, for anyone new here, if there's someone in the 2 spot, Gyirashin's on his knees rock hard. No one loves the 2 spot more than Gyiraszin, especially if they just moved up there. Churio does have a fractured hand though, which is why he's out. Another nice thing about the Brewers, it's easy to stack. Second base 2-ring, Contreras catcher, Yelich outfield, Vaughn first base, Bauer's dual position eligibility. If you want to wrap it around, second base, shortstop. Like some of these teams are just outfield, which makes it a little harder to stack. Brewers look pretty easy, but again, coming with some ownership that we're showing on DraftKings, FanDuel, when first base catcher, when you're not forced to just play a catcher itself, usually the catchers are lower owned over there. Nades, I know people will call you a homer if you're on the Brewers, but one of the higher run totals. Are you on them today? And then any thoughts on the White Sox?
Yeah, I mean, people can call me a homer all they want. I don't really care. I mean, it's Shane Smith on a slate when you got Skeens, you got Scuball, you got freaking name all the guys at the top that we talked about, right? Peralta, it's just a loaded pitching slate. Shane Smith's not good, doesn't keep the ball on the ground. It's a above average hitter's park here in Milwaukee. Obviously, the roof's going to be closed in there, so it plays a little above average there. It's still a hitter's park, and he struggles against lefties, and the Brewers know that, right? I mean, they added a guy in David Hamilton who's a Swiss Army knife there. Garrett Mitchell's back. Finally, this kid's a stud. I mean, if he gets on, he's stealing. Shane Smith allowed 14 stolen bases last year, which isn't anything crazy by any means, but I mean, they're going to run when they get on base. That's obviously why they got to where they were last year, best record in baseball, and made the postseason, and obviously fell on their face like they always do. But still, this team made me a ton of money last year. Stolen bases are never talked about enough. This team's going to continue to steal. They're not going to hit a ton of home runs, but that's why they're a better full stack team than kind of picking off individual bats. Contreras is swinging a red hot bat right now. Terang was the MVP, in my opinion, of the USA World Baseball Classic team. I mean, he was swinging a great stick all that whole time against ace pitchers for the most part, right, from these other countries. So I love Terang. If you want to get different within a Brewer stack, really easy. Leave Terang out of your lineup and go to David Hamilton. Same exact position. Hamilton still can hit a home run. He can still steal bases. He was a good kind of utility piece for Boston last year. Like I said, Frelick, Hamilton, Mitchell is a really, really good starting spot in getting Brewer stacks different. Wrap it around to the top, leave Terang out like I talked about, go Contreras and Yelich. There you go. You got a 6, 7, 8, 2, 3 stack. That is an instant way to be different. You got a terrible White Sox bullpen behind them. So I love the Brewers. They're my top stack on the slate again as well. So Gyiraszin and I lockstep to start the year here.
Let's go Brew Crew. I do want to just show something real quick. Our man Jordan reminded me, where did he say? Yeah, Terry asked for top stacks. Jordan got it covered. Go to the stack rankings. It's there. We need to change our logo to the YouTube chat. What's going on? Well, this just reminded me not for the YouTube. I mean, obviously, if you want to rock with us, cool. But for the winner's circle, a lot of people don't know about this, and you're leaving money on the table. So if you go to more and winner's circle right here, this was something that SaberSim had for a while, and they got us in on it. I mean, shout out to them. Really, really helpful. So if you have a Shippin' Nation logo and you can get them in the Discord, obviously, if you win $1 million, you probably heard they give away a Rolex. They give you a Rolex, which is really cool stuff. Now, not many are winning millions. Obviously, none of us here have, very few, but it's cool. If you win $1,000, top 5 plays, there has to be over 100 people in the contest. If you're 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and you win $1,000 with a Shippin' Nation logo, you get a free month over here if you tweet us at X at ShippinNation.com. You have to, or at Shippin' Nation on X. You have to have the logo up prior to the start of the day. It has to have over 100 people in it, and you have to take 1 through 5, first through 5th place. But I mean, look at that, 1 free month at Shippin' Nation with the logo for $1,000 screenshot if you tag us on X. It's very doable. You can see a lot of people here have done it, and you get a lot of money, or you get money off for your next month. You're rocking Shippin' Nation, and obviously you're happy with $1,000 plus in your pocket. So yeah, very easy to do so. More winner circle. You can find that out right there and get in the Discord, and you can find out our logos. So just wanted to show that out. Not many all know about it, and I know some people have won and then regretted not having it because, yeah, who doesn't want a free month? All right, next game on the slate, Gyiraszin going to you, the Cubs and the Nationals. Kay Cavalli, Matthew Boyd on the mound. The Cubs definitely getting some ownership. Wind blowing in though. Good total for the Cubbies. Couldn't imagine playing the Nats unless you have a one-off. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, definitely Cubbies are looking interesting. They are going to be chalky, as everybody's been talking about. But with that weather, Kate Cavalli, I mean, you just look at all the pitchers all across the board. He's definitely at the bottom of the barrel. 13% strikeout rate against righties. He was at 21.8 against lefties last year. A little bit of a ground ball lean to the left side. Right side, 56.9, 53% to the left. But I mean, to me, the Cubbies are in a pretty good spot. If it wasn't for that weather, like I said, I would have had them number one. PCA, obviously we talked about over there in the WBC, look good. Bush in that 2-hole. We know I like Bush. Now he's in the 2-hole. Look out. And then we added Bregman over there. I think, Ballesteros, I think actually a catcher down there in the 7-hole isn't a bad wraparound. Conforto could hit a bomb. But as Nate mentioned, it's going to get a little bit windier as that game goes on. So definitely something to be concerned about. But that Nats bullpen is just garbage. So I think, definitely could get after him there. We may not see 5 homers in this game. We might see 1 or 2. If they square one up, it's still we're not saying that nobody's going to hit a homer. It's just the chances are definitely decreased. But I think the Cubs are in a pretty good spot. I think they're going to be a little bit more over-owned than they should be. So I'm going to be a little bit more underweight on the Cubs. I may have a few of the lineups, but if I do have some Cubs lineups, I may have Ballesteros down there in the 7-hole, maybe have Conforto wrap back around with PCA, Bush, and maybe you can go Bregman if you're over there on DK with 5. But, I don't mind the Cubbies. I think you just may have to just get a little bit different with them today. If you go just 1 through 4 or 1 through 5, I think that could be a little bit more popular, especially on DK. But Cubs for me are in a great spot. I just the weather just isn't really in their favor here today as far as hitting conditions. But, man, I think that Cubs lineup is – even though they lost a few bats, Suzuki and Tucker, as we mentioned, I still think it's pretty strong.
Definitely strong. I will say one thing, and our ownership's kind of reflecting that. There's a chance they moonwalk back. Shout out to our man DJ, talking about steam, talking about moonwalk. Everyone's going to be talking about the weather. Again, outfield. They do have first base, third base, second, which makes it easier to stack. 2 catchers in the lineup. If you get the right catcher, they're both going to get a little ownership. We have Brewers higher owned, and I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the day if that is the case with people talking about the weather that way. So they're not going to be low owned by any means, but at the end of the day too, chalk in baseball is a lot different than chalk in NBA. If they're really, really chalky, it's a lot easier to fade. If you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer, but also the chalk is kind of more like a PGA chalk than it is an NBA, an NFL where the chalk threshold is a lot lower than it is when like 60%, 70% in basketball is chalk, 20% in baseball, 18% can be chalk that we're talking. So, Nades, do you have a different opinion on the ownership in terms of moonwalking back, or do you think they'll be the top highest owned stack? And then, what do you see Nats and Cubs?
Yeah, no, projections wise, I mean, just running projection wise, projected score, the Cubs come in right around 4th behind Boston, Milwaukee, and Houston. In general, just obviously strictly projections. Projections really don't drive baseball much outside of pitchers. I don't really look at this guy's projection versus that guy, because obviously they're all median projections, just like PGA, where, I mean, Hall of Famers fail 7 out of 10 times, right? So their most likely outcome is probably 0 to 3 points realistically for 90% of these hitters. So it's not really too worried there. I do think the Cubs get held in check and probably slightly come back. But just because, number one, their prices, and number 2, the weather, it's just, I'm going to take a chance. I know the Nats bullpen is horrible. I know Cavalli's not very good. I mentioned him a little bit in terms of large field tournament stuff, just as a leverage piece. I still don't care if the Cubs are low owned or if they were mega chalk. I'm probably still not going to play them much. I like looking at other spots. I mean, we got 3 really, really good hitting environments on this slate, which is rare this time of the year. I just don't see the need to play a game where wind is blowing in at double digits in the worst park on the slate for wind, with wind affecting it, and it's in the 40s. I just don't see the need. I know the Cubs do have upside. They broke the slate a ton of times last year, but they were really streaky too, right? I mean, more times than not, the Cubs sank your lineup than they actually helped it. Overall, I'm going to take my stance. Overall, I like the Brewers a lot more. I like other teams we're going to talk about a lot more. So Cubs are fine in MME. I think more mini stacks, picking off like home runs and stolen bases, guys like Bush and PCA who can get there. PCA can get there on the ground with his legs, and Bush can hit it out of any stadium regardless of the wind there. So those guys, but full 5-man stacks, probably not getting to much Cubs, if any, here tonight.
All right, we'll keep it rolling. No time to waste. Next game on the slate, the O's and the Twins. Joe Ryan, Trevor Rogers on the mound. Let me see the total in this one's 8.5, the biggest on the slate. -138 favorites are the O's. Joe Ryan definitely tough on righties, but can give it up to lefties a little bit. Gunnar Henderson, one of the best bats. There's Adley, Samuel, Colton Cowser. I'll throw it right back to you, Nades. Any interest in these O's or the Twins?
Yeah, I love
that.
Hey,
hold on. Our man, Rio. Here we go. O's main stack today. And I assume you like the lefties a little more. So, yeah, take it away. Our man Rio, who crushed baseball last year, crushes every sport, but he likes the O's himself.
Yeah, I got the checks my notes here. Shout out to our guy, DGen. O's are listed number 2 behind the Brewers on my rankings when I was preparing for this slate. I know Joe Ryan is a good name that people typically don't like to pick on much, but he does struggle against lefties, gives up a ton of fly balls and a ton of power. You look at the weather here in Oriole Park. It's not the greatest home run park in Camden there, but guys who can pull it down the line is 318, right? 70 degrees, double-digit wind blowing out the entire duration of the game, 12 to 15 miles an hour. I think it's a really good spot for these O's lefties. I love them all. You got another home run power bat and Taylor Ward batting leadoff here, coming over from the Angels. You got Pete Alonso obviously coming over from the Mets to make that right in the middle, right? It's pretty hard to pitch around the top. You got Basallo there, the catcher. You do have to make a decision with Adley and Basallo there. They're probably going to split ownership, so not really worried about it. But you got a guy like Colton Cowser who's got a ton of power at the back half of that lineup, going to be sub 10% owned. Blaze Alexander was a huge prospect for the D-backs. Now he's on this team. The O's were probably the biggest flop offensive-wise last year. I think they're going to come back with a vengeance this year. I don't mind picking out Joe Ryan, the fly balls. I mean, his strikeout stuff to lefties is right around league average. I mean, he's elite versus right-handed batters and right around average to below average against lefties. So give me all the lefties. It's fine to throw in a Ward or Alonso in stacks, but I would really start with Gunnar, Cowser, Basallo, Adley, and those guys first, and then pick out the 1 or 2 righties there. But I love the O's here. Stolen base upside. I think Gunner's the best play on the slate at shortstop in general. So really like the O's here.
Any Twins love? I mean, hitter rankings aren't terrible for what should be low ownership.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Rogers was serviceable enough last year, which was kind of shocking in general. I just don't feel the need you have to pick on him. Obviously, Wallner, Buxton are fine. Royce Lewis is fine there, but I like enough other teams that I more prefer the O side of this game than the Twins. But I think the Twins are fine. Definitely probably make the list in MME stuff, right? 20+ teams. I'll probably get some Twin stuff just because I'm under on like the Cubs and some of these other teams that are going to command some ownership. So I don't mind it, but much prefer the Baltimore side here.
Yeah, I agree there. Shout out Go Collect, helping so much going on. I haven't asked for it enough, but yeah, appreciate if we could take 2 seconds out of your day and hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button, helps us out a ton. Bringing you NBA and MLB shows pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, of course, written content. We have you covered for all the sports above, as you see. Also, yeah, I mean, every single person talking about Tyler O'Neill, 6 straight homers opening day. Will he get 7? I mean, yeah, I'm on Will's side here. The books are going to absolutely clean up. Tyler O'Neill's not hitting a home run. The books are going to win all the money with people chasing it. If you think I'm wrong, you can slide in the DMs and I will book your action, whatever DraftKings Sportsbook has to offer there. So, also, yeah.
Going right out there the first week. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, that
just open DMs, he said. Just fire away.
Yeah, if you guys all think Tyler O'Neill's doing it, yeah, I mean books are cleaning. So I'd love to be a book over here. Hoop won $1 million. Yeah, Hoop's a monster. Unfortunately, he did not. They didn't have the Rolex deal at the previous company, so he wasn't able to get that. But yeah, he's got enough cheese. Shout out to Hoopster in the MLB streets for sure, and shout out to you, Brad Wright. Good luck to you this season. Appreciate you hanging out. Gyiraszin, are you on the O's with the people? And then thoughts on the Twins.
Yeah, O's are up there for me, as Nate said, one of my top 3 stacks. Definitely like Gunnar Henderson, as he mentioned, top play in the slate. I do like all the lefties, but they added that extra power there on that right side with Ward and Alonso. So, like he said, I mean, last year they were like still like right around top 10 in homers in MLB off the top of my head. I mean, they had to be, they're pretty sure. So, I mean, they added some more bats. I think they're going to be a team as the season goes on. We're going to have to keep our eye on and see how that shakes out. But on the Twins side, yeah, I do really like the Orioles. But on the Twins side, I think Buxton is a great one-off play up and lead off today. Buxton is, if he can keep himself healthy, he'd be one of the he'll be up there in the MVP race. I mean, this guy is that type of player. But I think Buxton's a pretty good play. I don't mind Royce Lewis over there, just kind of picking one-offs. But yeah, I'm all over the O's. They're up there in my favorite stacks, as I was saying earlier when I was hand building my teams this morning. When I got up, they were definitely in my mix of teams that I was throwing together. I mean, hey, it's quiet around here, nobody to talk to, so might as well have some fun, hand build some baseball. I mean, shit. But
yeah, for anyone tuning in,
Gyiraszin are definitely in my top play. I think I got Bucks in my top 5 in my hitter rankings today.
Yeah, for anyone tuning in, Gyiraszin has hand built 50 teams already this morning. Took him probably 5 hours, been up since 2 a.m. Meanwhile, I'll be building my 50 teams in Saber Sim for a good 5 minutes or whatever.
Get a lot of patience when you hit that good sativa stuff.
You are right about that, no doubt. And when Gyiraszin's at the top of the leaderboard for 100K today, he can shove it to me just like a lot of people are going to be trying to shove it to me when Tyler O'Neill does indeed hit a home run. But I opened myself up to it. And yeah, my DMs are open, like I said. Next game on the slate, Cincinnati Reds and the Boston Red Sox. Garrett Crochet, Andrew Abbott on the mound. 8 total, minus 158 favorites are the Red Sox. Nades, what are we doing in this one?
You're talking Boston. Let me see here. So I like Boston a ton here. Abbott, fly ball guy, home run park here. I actually like both offenses here, and it's going to be really, really it's going to sound crazy, right? Like in some of these Reds against Crochet. But again, Crochet is going to strike out a ton, but he's also going to give up some power, right? And guys like Matt McLean, who took a big step last year, adding Eugenio Suarez to this lineup for Cincinnati from the Arizona, right, at the deadline last year in the offseason. I mean, he's a lefty masher in general. And you got the best hitting environment or second best hitting environment on the slate behind that game with Philly and Texas overall. Wind blowing out here to left center, 86 degrees here, right around 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing out the entire duration of this game. So I think it's good hitting environment on both sides. Much prefer the Boston side against Abbott here, just the fly ball guys in particular, which those guys would be Abreu, Rafaela, Contreras, Story, Durbin, and Narvaez. But obviously Roman the Great, had a great World Baseball Classic. He's going to be a stud this year. Lefty does hurt there, but could get some of that Reds bullpen action there. Full dining in at bats. And then on the Red side, I'm just picking off power guys here. I think it's a pretty interesting mini stack. Guys like Sal Stewart, who murders left-handed pitching, Suarez, like I talked about, Steer, Stevenson, and McLean. Those 5 guys all hit lefties, pretty good. I know Crochet's good, but again, it's early in the year. It's good hitting environment. Crochet's going to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. It's good leverage in a good hitting environment and a good ballpark. So I think it's a pretty solid spot to attack in MME stuff. Probably not get to the Reds in a main stack or a main team type thing, but in MME 20 max, if you're building 10 teams or something, I think throwing in some of those Reds in probably 2 lineups or so is 2 to 5 lineups is a really good thing in anywhere from 10 to 20 teams overall.
He's really got the biggest balls today. Cade Cavalli, a little bit of Reds, but hey, that's portfolio management. Playing a lot of teams, Crochet will be the chalkiest. You will see this here multiple times. The chalkiest pitcher, even aces, absolutely go down. If that's the case, could be like 40% Crochet down the drain. You get direct leverage that way. Yeah, I mean, tough for me to say that, but I almost never recommend that. And again, it does happen sometimes. So when you're right, how much you win a lot of cheese, and a lot of these tournaments are very top heavy. So can't argue going against that. Gyiraszin, Red Sox, Reds.
Yeah, Red Sox for me are one of my favorite as well. Anthony up there at the top. I mean, he's got like a 39% K rate against lefties, but Abbott is not very strong. He's just barely above average at 23% for lefties. So I'm not really that concerned. We know that kid can hit the shit out of the baseball. So him, Duran, and Mayer all have high strikeout rates against lefties. I'm just not afraid of Abbott and the strikeout capability. So he does also have a 30%, 29% fly ball rate to lefties last year. So we like the park. I do like the stacks. I think Story and Contreras are in great spots. Durbin's pretty cheap. Third baseman you can get over there. But they're pretty happy with him making the squad. So I think, the Red Sox are definitely up there. I got them a little bit, few steps below the Brewers and the Orioles, but I think the Red Sox definitely, you get that ninth inning at bat. I don't think the Reds bullpen is all that great either. But I like the righties here. I wish they had maybe one more righty that would fit the build, like a Bregman would be nice. But I'll take Durbin. But if one of these lefties up at the top, if you throw in Duran or Anthony, and they get into that back of that bullpen, you never know what could end up happening. So I wouldn't be just leaving them out. They may see one or two. Man, that was the loudest thunder I've heard in a long time. Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
Man,
I thought you were.
What's going on around here? We're getting tornadoes or something in March. But either way, I think the Red Sox are a pretty good play today.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Astros and the Angels. Jose Soriano, Hunter Brown on the mound. What are we looking at? 8 total, minus 184 favorites are the Astros. Astros going to get some ownership for sure. 4.85 run total. Soriano grades out very poorly in the pitcher rankings. Couple good guys for the hitter rankings on the Astros. And then, Hunter Brown at home grades out well. I know you liked him, Nate, so I'm assuming no interest in the Angels. Tell me if I'm wrong. And then what about the Stros? How do they compare to the Red Sox, to the O's, to the Cubs, to the Brewers?
Yeah, I think the Astros are kind of in that 5 through 7 range in terms of stacks. I think they're fine. It's just, I hate this freaking team, man. They just have no power outside of, Jordan. You got Loperfido batting 5th. I get it. He's got some power, but the dude is, Toronto shipped him out of there. Carlos Correa, Paredes, Altuve at his day and age, he's just going to put the ball in play. He doesn't got much power. Soriano is a ground ball guy, so if I went to them, I'd focus more on the fly ball guys for Houston, which those guys you're looking at are Paredes, Alvarez, and Walker, with Loperfido there being a fly ball guy too. So those 4, naturally, when I don't have a ton of interest in more than 3 to 4 guys, I prefer more as mini stacks. So I think the Astros are fine there. But at their ownership, everyone's going to run there because obviously they know Soriano is up and down, got blown up a ton last year. The Angels bullpen's not great. It's still not going to be good. I just at ownership, I much prefer the Brewers over them at similar ownerships. I just think they have more upside. So Astros are fine, but they're kind of down the list for me. And I do think more people go to them because of their salaries and overall it's just the Angels and people streamline teams against the Angels here. So Astros more mini stacks, don't love them a ton. Cam Smith I think is pretty interesting just because he's got a ton of power. I like him a lot more against lefties, but again, that Angels Soriano's not great. Angels are pretty trash but behind him. No Angels interest really for me. Obviously you can always play Mike Trout, Joe Adell, Zach Neto as one-offs or a 2-man mini stack if you really want to get crazy in tournaments. Neto was great last year. He's going to be super low owned at shortstop with everyone going up to guys like Gunnar Henderson up at the top. So I think he's fine. And then obviously Mike Trout is Mike Trout, right? You got to play him before he gets hurt. And that would fit the build now, game 1. So.
Yeah, the Astros, I kind of like the Stros, but I like the bottom half of the order. They're going to get ownership. Look at the pricing. Jordan 5.2. The next is Jose Altuve 4.4. And then everyone's below 4K. But Yainer Diaz, Christian Walker, Cam Smith, Loperfido, like you said, they make a lot of sense. If you want to build crochet school balls or 2 spend-up pitchers, the Astros are a way to do so. And then a lot of people just go to the top of the order and mix in 1 or 2 down below. I don't mind stacking it if you want to wrap it around to get a Jordan Altuve with it. But this bottom half of the order is pretty good. Which I like when you can turn the lineup over pretty easy that way. So I think that makes up for the lack of power a bit, but it's mainly just the ownership difference you get from the bottom to the top. Gyiraszin, Astros, and the Angels.
Yeah, I think the Astros are interesting. Soriano, as you mentioned, can't get blown up. I mean, you hate stacking against a guy with such a high ground ball lean, 67% to lefties, 64% to righties. He does walk guys a little bit too much. I mean, he's almost a 12% walk rate against lefties. The problem is these Astros don't generally walk. None of them really have really high walk rates. Alvarez is probably about the highest, but that is concerning. But, I kind of agree. I like the back half a little bit. Smith, Walker down there in that 7 spot. Diaz, maybe flip it around with Pena up at the top, maybe if you wanted to go that route. But, yeah, I don't mind the Astros at all. They got a higher team total than you would probably guess if you were just to guess what the team totals were before you even started. So, I mean, I kind of was surprised when I saw that. But I don't mind him here. That bullpen behind Soriano is absolute trash. If Soriano goes 4 innings, the Astros could put up a pretty decent crooked number, I would assume. So now whether or not they hit home runs, as Nate said, they don't have the most power is another thing. They may be in the Royals camp, as I like to say. But, I do think the Astros are definitely interesting. I think I like them a little bit more on DK than I do on FanDuel, actually. But, as far as any of the Angels go against Brown, I'm just going to leave that be. I think Hunter Brown, for me, is one of my favorite pitchers.
Agree. Next game on the slate, your Detroit Tigers taking on San Diego Padres. Nick Pivetta, Tyreek Skubal on the mound. 2 good pitchers, which leads usually to a low total, which was what we got at 7. And actually the under is favored at -114. Tigers -134 favorites. I think Tigers are looking a little decent in the stack rankings. If I had to pick a squad, Tigers or the Padres, I'm definitely going against Pivetta over Skubal. Can your Detroit Tigers guarantee 9th inning at bats? Obviously a tough park, low total. Pricing's fine, though. You're the Tigers guy, though. Your man Spencer Torkelson, for people that have been around, he's been everywhere. He's been a coaster. He's been a premier guy. He's been all the way around. So what Torkelson are we going to get this year? And then what are we doing in this game?
Yeah, Torkelson's going to probably be my coaster. He needs to get the hell. He's about done. But he'll go somewhere else. Like, he'll go to the Red Sox, and he'll be a freaking all-star, guaranteed. But I think Kevin McGonigal's my new guy now. That young kid is going to hit the shit out of the baseball this year. I can tell you that.
Who's the guy with like 8 chains?
What's that?
Who's the guy with like 7 chains in center
field? That's Max Clark. He's down there in the AAA. Yeah, that boy, he needs to make the team before you start wearing funky stuff like that. But either way, I'm not really a fan. We got a game total of 7. We got too many good offenses today to even try to get too cute. I don't even really care for really any of the one-offs. I mean, Riley Green's a guy that could hit a home run. Carpenter up there. But, I mean, if they bring in a lefty, Carpenter's getting pinch hit for. So is Cole Keith. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But I don't like the park. San Diego's just not somewhere I like to pick on. During the day, I guess is a little bit better. Then, when they get that marine layer fog coming in, generally at the nighttime, it usually thickens that air up. Ball don't fly as much. But I'm not a fan of either spot in this game. I mean, both pitchers. I mean, Skubal is no thanks. I don't want to stack against that. But I mean, I'd pick on Pivetta maybe if it was in Comerica. I know it was a little warmer outside. Maybe I think about that. But we got a game total of 7. No need to be cute.
I agree. 9 games on the slate too. Nate, do you see it the same, or you got any one-offs or pieces in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Riley Green, obviously, you can always play him. McGonigal at shortstop at 3K, fits that mid-tier, right, as a spend-down option. Not many people are going to be on him because not a ton of people look at baseball until today, so they don't really know prospects and things like that. But it's just, I think, Pivetta is just a strike thrower. You can put the ball in play against him, but, I mean, the bullpen behind Pivetta is probably the best in baseball. It was last year. It's still going to be good this year, and it's straight nails. So the ballpark sucks. The starting pitcher, you could poke holes in Pivetta if you wanted to. But then behind him, you got some of the best bullpen in all of baseball this year. So I just don't think it's a great spot for any hitters in this game. I'm looking at it much like that Mets game up top. I think pitching wins out in this one. And I think we see like a 2-1, 3-1 type game in both of those spots. Obviously anything could happen. But I like enough other contrarian spots that I don't need to go to be here to be contrarian just to be contrarian overall. So not one for me.
Yeah, I agree. Cross off this game, cross off that first game. You're down to 7 in terms of bats. I'd rather stack the bottom of the order. On a lot of these other chalkier teams, the bottom of the order, rather the top, which is a lot lower owned. Similar ownership to like spots like this. So totally in agreement. Go collect. You definitely made me laugh right here. Good to see you, Brittany. Hope everything's going well. Nate, I'm going to keep it with you the next game. Christopher Sanchez, Nathan Eovaldi on the mound, the Phillies and the Rangers, 7.5 total, -154 favorites are the Phillies. Neither side really getting too much ownership. I guess a little showing on the Phillies side, but any interest for you?
Yeah, I think the Phillies are one of my favorite sneaky stacks of the slate here. I just don't think people are going to go to them because they respect Eovaldi. But at the current point of what Eovaldi is at, I talked about it at the opening, right, where it's his 14th season. His home run rate last year was the lowest in his career. I think we got some regression there in general, and the Phillies have a ton of power. It's by far the best hitting environment on the slate, and it's not even really close, in my opinion here. I mean, you're looking at 80 degrees with 15 to 18-mile-an-hour winds blowing straight out to center field. So I think it's a good spot. It's only 400 feet in center compared to some of these other parks where it's a lot more. Down the lines, it's obviously 320, 330. So I think the lefties here from the Phillies are really interesting. I love Schwarber. I think he's a great play. Bryce Harper. I really like that two-man stack there. I don't think a lot of people double spend there. And it's two positions that you can get to pretty easily, first base and outfield. Don't really break the brain, or it doesn't really destroy your 5-man stack position eligibility wise. Marsh is fine there. Trey Turner is going to be a pretty contrarian option, in my opinion, at shortstop, just because people are going to go to a Gunnar Henderson in that range for $100 less. So I think Trey Turner's really interesting. Nothing tilts you more than when you stack the lefties for the Phillies and Trey Turner steals 2 bases, hits a home run, and scores like 40 DraftKings points. And you're sitting there, Phillies score 12 runs, but your stack has like 30 combined points because Trey Turner has all of them at the top. So I really like the top of this lineup for the Phillies. Adding Adolis Garcia, a little revenge narrative if people want to go there against his own squad. Obviously, he's got a ton of power. Brandon Marsh, Hoops Kid's boy, I should say. Favorite Landon's boy right there. Brandon Marsh hitting 7th. He's got a lot of power. Justin Crawford, don't know much about him, but he's 2,400. You can wrap it around to the top. You can do like a Brandon Marsh, Crawford, Trey Turner, Schwarber, Harper. Nobody's going to be on that. Bryson Stott fills a second base position where people are going to go to guys like Terang much more than they are going to go to Bryson Stott. He's got power speed combination. I think the Phillies are really interesting here in general with this hitting environment. And on the Rangers side, I think Corey Seager is an elite spend up option. Nobody's going to, or kind of not even spend up at shortstop. 4.3 mid tier. I think he's fine. Jake Berger is a lefty masher, 3,200 there. Does have some pinch hit concerns if a righty does come in, but he could easily hit a home run against Sanchez here. Wyatt Langford, another massive power bat. More mini stacks on the Rangers side, but I do think the Phillies are really interesting here.
I do like your Corey Seager shout. Again, I showed this earlier, our stack rankings, a way that I like to use it. Again, make sure that you're sorting just by main slate, but going to by positions. You're going to shortstop. You can see it's a pretty big drop off. There's Correa, there's Seager, and then, yeah, Story, Neto, but it's a good amount in terms of the ranks. Corey Seager definitely going to be low owned. So I always like to look at that stuff when I'm looking at one-offs or certain positions that way that could be a little weaker. Gyiraszin, any Rangers, any Phillies for you?
Man, Rangers are just so tough because Sanchez, I mean, dude's got such a 71% ground ball lean to the left side, 56%. I mean, nobody's getting the ball up in the air against this dude. So, I mean, that's definitely concerning. I'm not really interested in too many Texas bets, but Philly, as Nate said, I think, when you overall look at all the lineups today, I mean, if you were to grade them all out just by not even who their matchup is, just for pure power, I mean, the Phillies got to be up at the top. So, there's no Dodgers on the slate, nothing like that today. Like the Phillies lineup all the way up and down there. I mean, yeah, sure, we don't know who Crawford is, but everybody else in that lineup sure could hit a home run. How many guys could hit double dongs in that lineup? So, they got a handful. And, Garcia, as you mentioned, the revenge game narrative against coming right out the gate against the Rangers, I think that's interesting. So, Phillies for me, you don't think Garcia's giving them a little bit of tips over there too, like look for this or, guys spend a lot of time over there. So I think the Phillies definitely have a lineup with the bats that could definitely get it done. And I mean, it's definitely worth throwing a few shares at the Phillies today. So Phillies for me are one of my favorites, probably one of my favorite sneakier stacks.
All right, we're going to take it to the last game of the nights. The St. Louis, or not the last game of the night. There is a night slate, but the last game for this main slate, the Cardinals and the Rays, Drew Rasmussen, Matthew Liberatore on the mound. Rays showing to get a little bit of ownership. Yeah, Tampa, the last lineup to confirm. Of course, no surprise right there, but I mean, they're definitely cheap. Guaranteed ninth inning at bats. Caminero's 5.8K. After that, nobody above 4.4K. Nades, Rays, Cardinals. Any interest?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like this ballpark much. It just plays a lot bigger. It's good for like doubles in runs scored and stuff like that, which does obviously fit the Rays offense pretty good. So I could see kind of explosion there. It's also almost 90 degrees here, best hottest temperatures, and you got pretty heavy wind blowing out. I mean, 17 miles an hour, 15 to 17, which is obviously right. You get the springtime wind blows a lot in a lot of these places across the country. This is definitely one of them. I think the Rays are fine. They fit a nice value stack. So if you do want to go like double spend up arms, I think it's probably going to be between them and Houston is the chalky value stack with double spend ups. Probably more so Houston than the Rays here. But Yandy Diaz was a stud last year. Carson Williams there I think is solid. Caminero is an absolute freak. I'll always have a spot in my heart for Caminero, bottom of the eighth, right? They're up a ton. His last at bat hits a bomb for a parlay when we're with the crew celebrating a ship it party there. So that was a blast. A little $10 into four stacks. So that was pretty nice. So Caminero is always my guy there. Seti Mullins in this lineup, I think is solid too. If he does crack it, it's tough to really break it down with not knowing. The Rays aren't going to hit a ton of power, but there are a ton of home runs, especially in this ballpark against a ground ball guy in Liberatore. But they're going to put the ball in play and they're going to steal bases, right? So they have a ton of speed. I don't love them as a full 5-man stack here. I just don't, like I talked about, I don't love stacking against a ground ball guy. I don't love the park a ton for home runs and upside compared to some of the other spots, but it is really good weather, and you could see some upside come from this game. Much prefer the Rays side than the Cardinals side here. I actually like Drew Rasmussen a little bit, and then that Rays bullpen is pretty nails behind Rasmussen. I just think the Cardinals are a terrible offense this year, a terrible team. They do have some upside guys like Burleson, who I think is solid. You got another 3K shortstop if you want to gamble there, bat and lead off. I think that's fine as well. A little lefty on righty action. I'm sure he's pretty fast. I don't know much about him. Mason Wynn was a great guy last year, Nolan Gorman, but really it's the Rays or bust here. And two teams that I don't really like a ton either overall in respect to the rest of the slate.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals lineup's the definition of Chiefs. You guys talked about it at the top, but man, that's pretty bad. Gyiraszin, I assume you're playing no Cardinals. Tell me if I'm wrong, but then what about the Rays?
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about any cards. As I mentioned, I thought Rasmussen wasn't bad, but the Rays, I mean, they're the cheap stack, value stack, other than Caminero, as you mentioned, who's expensive. I mean, you can get 3 Rays and get some value if you want, go higher end pitching. I don't mind that at all. I mean, they're going to throw out a handful. I would assume they're going to throw a handful of righties over there at Liberatore, but Rays are always a team too that, they pinch hit. There's just things you kind of got to be concerned about. There's a few guys that I'm not really concerned, like Diaz probably won't get pinch hit for. Caminero probably won't. But you start getting to the bottom part of that lineup, it's going to get, it could get a little fuzzy for you. But I don't mind the Rays. I don't think I'd go 5-man with the Rays. I just don't think they have that much power, but you want to throw in Diaz and maybe Caminero and, go a little elsewhere for your third guy. I don't mind them as a mini stack, get you some value.
Awesome stuff. That is all 9 games on the slate. Talk some pitchers, talk some bats. Again, a good amount of marketing. Just want to pull it up one more time for anyone that's came in. No better place to be for the MLB season. Join the nation to the bottom left if you want to check it out. You can get in as low as $1, less than $1 a day. Single sport MLB. If you'll be with us all year, just $17 a month for all of our tools, projections, ownership, our rankings right here. If you do want SaberSim, only $20 more to add it, $49 a month. Again, SaberSim themselves doesn't offer just a single sport for that. So MLB is a long year. We have you covered. Slate plans, 7 days a week, cores 7 days a week, the rankings, of course, shows Monday through Friday. We'd love to have you. If you are interested in playing MMA, PGA Showdown, NASCAR, NHL, NBA, still a bunch of other sports going on right now. 5 days for only $19. You also get SaberSim. You get access to the Discord. You absolutely cannot beat that. We will love to see you in the Discord. It is always popping. A lot of familiar faces in YouTube chat. Also in the Discord. All we ask is a thumbs up on the way out. Subscribe button as well. Awesome stuff, Gyiraszin. Awesome stuff, Nades. Ready to absolutely hammer this first slate. Good luck, everybody out there. We appreciate you hanging out. We will be back tomorrow talking some baseball. For Gyiraszin, for Nades, I'm Tidal. Good luck today. Enjoy some baseball. Peace.